Hansel and Gretel. Once upon a time, there were two children called Hansel and Gretel. They lived in the forest with their father and stepmother. Hansel and Gretel's father worked as a woodcutter. A woodcutter did not get much money, and Hansel and Gretel's stepmother liked to go shopping. They were very short of money, and Hansel and Gretel's father was very worried. One day, he came home from work and sat at the table with his head in his hands. But his wife had a plan. She told the woodcutter he must get rid of his children. With two less mouths to feed, their money worries would be over. Hansel and Gretel were listening at their bedroom door. They knew that their stepmother always got her own way, and they were very frightened. Hansel had an idea. The next morning, he went out and collected some stones. After breakfast, Hansel and Gretel's stepmother suggested they all go for a walk in the forest. While they were walking, Hansel dropped the stones along the path. When they were deep in the forest, their stepmother told them to sit and wait. She told them that she was taking their father to pick some berries for a picnic. She was not telling the truth. Soon night came, and Hansel and Gretel were alone in the forest. But Hansel's plan had worked. They could follow the stones all the way home. When they arrived home, the woodcutter was overjoyed. Their stepmother, however, was very cross. Late that night, she told the woodcutter he must try to get rid of the children again. The following day, the children were locked in the cottage all morning. Their stepmother did not want Hansel collecting stones again. At lunchtime, their father took them for a walk in the forest again. Hansel quickly out something in his pocket. As they walked along, Hansel dropped breadcrumbs along the path. The woodcutter was very sad to leave his children in the forest, but he did not want to upset his wife. He led the children to a place in the forest with plenty of shelter and berries to eat. Finally, he walked away. Hansel was not worried. He told Gretel what he had done, but when they looked along the path, there was no sign of the breadcrumbs. They had been eaten by the birds and animals in the forest. This time, Hansel and Gretel had no way of getting home. Hansel and Gretel walked and walked through the forest. Eventually, they came to an amazing house. The house was made of gingerbread and decorated with sweets, icing, and lollipops. And standing by the house was a strange old woman. The woman invited the children inside. But the old woman was very cruel. She locked Hansel in a cage. She wanted to fatten him up and eat him. She showed Gretel the oven where she was going to cook Hansel. Gretel decided to trick the old woman. She told the old woman that Hansel was too big to fit in the oven. The old woman leaned forward to take a closer look, and Gretel pushed her into the oven. Gretel unlocked the cage so Hansel could get out. They had a quick look around the gingerbread house. Gretel found a chest full of gold coins. The children decided to set out for home, bringing the chest with them. After a long walk through the forest, Hansel and Gretel eventually found a path they recognized. They ran excitedly along the path and finally saw their home in the distance. There, outside the cottage, was their father. Their stepmother had left. Now the three of them could finally live happily ever after.